Hello, everyone. I think it's about time that I kick the horse. I don't like that comparison because I am kind to animals, but you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of people out there who do what a lot of others would reference as kicking the dead horse. But this is not a dead horse. The idea of true freedom, the idea of natural law, it's always been there. But how many people are on board? How many people actually know what it means? Now, yes, I break down the letters and numbers and symbols because I, as an individual, have experienced something more than this physical realm. There are many realms, and I've been to them. But trying to explain that to people who aren't ready to hear those things yet makes no sense. So I have to teach the letters and numbers in the progressive way that I'm doing it in order for people to get it. So I don't want people to think that I have no idea about natural law. Of course I do. That's why I'm where I'm at. Because I know nobody has the right to tell me what to do. Nobody owns you. And if you're a person who lets somebody own you and tell you how to live your life, you're not free. Even if they go around saying, freedom, we're going to celebrate it a couple days throughout the year and say, freedom, let freedom ring, because freedom is what we say it is. All right. When people start really thinking about what matters and what doesn't matter, you'll start realizing that half the jobs, half the corporations and the manufacturing businesses that are out there are all making garbage and they're tearing this planet apart. Now, natural law is basically saying what you do comes back to you. There's a universal pattern above these laws that I'm trying to teach. But when it comes to the interaction on a daily basis between you and I, or between you and nature, or between the environment and the people in it, what we do gives back to us. Let's say if you water a plant with soda, it's not going to grow right, and if it does, it's going to have a weird taste, or it's going to just grow not as great as it would if it had its main sources that are good for it, like water, sun, good soil, that kind of stuff. Now, when it comes down to natural law and understanding all these things, I guess it will help some people to go really deep into the hermetic principles and the this and the that. I have nothing against them. I know them. But when people need to get with the program now, they can't, we don't have the time to wait for these people to learn all this ancient and old teachings. We need to say right now, here today, they can look into this stuff on their own time. But when it comes to us coming together right now, we've got to actually get our heads out of our asses as a unit, as a whole, and start actually doing what matters most. And that is speaking the truth, whether it makes people uncomfortable or not, and going out of your way, becoming uncomfortable, and not just allowing people to be ignorant. If someone's ignorant and it's causing you harm, and it's causing the environment harm, and it's causing enslavement upon mankind, you can't just accept the ignorance. You can't. It's impossible. Because then all you're doing is being like, well, if people gave a shit, I'd have a life and I could actually be free. But they don't. I do, but not enough to say anything. So I guess I'll just be a slave like everybody else because I want to fit in. Is that where you want to fit in? Do you want to fit in with slaves? Do you want to be ran by people with big pocketbooks and big bank accounts? Because for some reason that makes them more of an important and valuable individual than you? Well, guess what? It doesn't. If you think money is what makes people valuable, that's something you've got to work through in here. Because I can't explain it any simpler than money doesn't give you anything. It buys your desires, and other people have placed these stipulations upon us. And we just cooperate with it because we don't want to stand up for ourselves because it seems hard and it seems difficult. Now, I'm not against, and I'm not trying to cause arguments with people, but people are already causing the argument. If someone just comes up and kicks you and beats you up and because they're allowed, you're just going to stand there and say, oh, because they're allowed. They have the right to do that. Here's the thing. You can't even really give your rights away because then if you do something wrong, you say, this person told me to do it. So you're just acting out of not knowing because someone else said it was okay. Now, people use the words like the trivium and the quadrivium, and you can look into those yourselves, but it's really just understanding what you're saying. It's understanding and listening to it. It's realizing and knowing what the definitions of things mean. And that's why I'm trying to teach people the deeper part of the definitions. Even the definitions and the etymologies that people have broken down aren't completely correct. What I'm showing you works with everything, and not just because it works, because it's what is. It is correct. It is the thing that will help people raise themselves to a higher level of consciousness. It doesn't mean it's going to get rid of all the problems. Those are the actions we take. So I got to spur this horse, although, like I said, I don't like using that comparison, but basically we've got to jump in and we've got to go full speed and we've got to go for something. We've got to find what that is that we want to go for. If it's true freedom, by all means, please, let's gather together and start standing up for it. If you care about your children, you can't just say, the government's just doing this and the government's just doing that and people are just going to be the way people are. You can't change people. Think about this. Have you learned anything from anybody in your life? Have you seen something and it made you think, I want to try that out? That's change. So when people say, you can't change people, I'm like, yeah, you can. You can easily change people by giving them a reason to, by showing them what is real, by showing them what is right, and by showing them what is wrong. And if you don't understand what right and wrong are and think there is no such thing as right and wrong, in a cosmic spectrum, sure, you could just come into this world and be a heinous murderer. But when it comes to how you would want others to treat you, how you would think that an effect on something is going to come back to you, that's when you start understanding why right and wrong come into play. If you don't care about yourself and you're just harming yourself and destroying yourself, then what are you going to offer other people? I've figured this out because it happened to me. I didn't try. I didn't have to study it. I worked my ass off. I did everything I could to do the right thing to what I thought was right until, whoop, it all just came. I can't say that's going to happen to anybody else because you have to be open. You have to be in a certain place. You have to be in a certain place inside. You have to be ready to move forward. You can't just be like, I got to hold on to this because I like it. This is my guilty pleasure, and I'm just going to hold on to it and take it with me as I do great things. Can't do it. Every once in a while, you can dip into, relaxation and some extra little recreation time. But on a whole, right now, we need people who are ready to put the pedal to the metal and work on it. And it's not hard work. It's difficult work. Because getting other people to listen to you, including family and friends, those are the hardest. Including anybody, like the strangers that you meet, the things that you interact with. It's about change. So if you think you can't change, you're wrong. Because you're changing right now. The food you digested yesterday is now you today. The food that you're going to eat tomorrow is going to be you for the next week after that. It's like the simplest stuff. You are not just this one thing. You're a billion different things in this body. Just like there are, let's say a tree is alive and it has bugs and it has animals that live on it. It has birds that live on it. Now that tree is the central life source for all those animals and those creatures. Now what about the planet? The planet itself is alive. It's one thing. And we happen to be the creatures, one of the kind of creatures that are on it, along with those trees, the birds, the animals, the bugs. Those things are so subtle for people that they can't relate to it. But if somebody explains it to them in a way where they can feel it and understand that you're not meant to manipulate anyone else, any other body, not just a person, animals, anything, in a way where you're doing it out of hate and disgust and because you want it to be that way, you've got to understand that's not right. Now, if you understand the principle of non-aggression, that means that you do not spend your time putting pain and inflicting harm onto others. No cause, no acts of violence come from you. Now, when somebody is purposely harming you, you've got to dip into that divine masculine and stand up for yourself. Yes, non-aggression, non-starting of violence. But when somebody's doing it to you, it's not a graceful and a spiritual and a blissful and wonderful thing to do, to just sit back and take it, because you're creating more karma by doing that. Now, I have so much more to say, but I'm going to make this a short video. I just want you guys to know that it's not just the numbers and letters that I know about and talk about and feel. It's freedom. It's what we need to do here in order to actually be our highest selves, to become the potential that we have and actually see it come into fruition. So until next time, God bless and peace.